Hare Krishna. Welcome to Chicago's virtual celebration of Sri Rama Navami. We are very, very privileged to be here, and I feel very honored to be here with all of you on this auspicious occasion of Sri Rama Navami. And the Lord says, whenever there is a decline of religion, he appears to protect his devotees and to annihilate the miscreants and to re-establish religion. So Lord Ramachandra, he is very, very popular because he was an ideal king, ideal son, ideal husband, and he came to establish these principles again after this world was tormented by Ravana. And today we have Balram Prabhu with us. He is a disciple of Radhanath Maharaj, and he has been serving the ISKCON Chicago community for a very, very long time. He's currently the temple president of ISKCON Chicago, and he's with us to share about the life and character of Lord Ramachandra. Thank you again, all of you, for being here. And I'll turn over the mic to Balram Prabhu. Thank you, Balram Prabhu, for being here.
Hare Krishna. I hope I'm audible, right? Can you hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up.
Yes, Prabhu, I can hear you.
Okay,
I
great.
can hear you.
Thank you all for being here, especially Leela Manjari Mataji for organizing this virtual celebration. Just a correction, I'm not the temple president. I'm one of the board of directors who are currently myself and Radharaman Prabhu are kind of overseeing things for a temporary time till we find somebody. But for now, again, welcome everybody. This is a beautiful, wonderful festival, especially in the current situation that we are all in. You know, staring at the screen and seeing virtually everybody, it's become like a norm. Like, I mean, most of us who are working, this is what we do all day, like staring at a screen, looking at and talking and interacting with people. So, but again, the difference here is that we are in the midst of devotees, at least virtually, our hearts are together in glorification of the Supreme Lord Sri Ramachandra. So there are a few things that I would like to share today. And there's a lot to be said about Lord Ramachandra's character. But what we will do is, we'll just take some snippets of his unlimited adventure that he performed when he came to this world. And then we'll just try to, absorb ourselves for the next 45-50 minutes and get purified. So I'll do Mangalacharan, auspicious invocations, so that we all can be blessed to be attentive during this discussion, both for me as well as for all of you. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpataru Bhascha Kripa Sindhu Vyayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today, on this occasion, I was thinking about touching on a couple of pastimes of Lord Ramachandra in the forest after he was banished by Kaikeyi, his stepmother. And here there are many different directions we can take this pastimes. But before we get into the pastimes, let us try to contextually try to understand the reason for the Lord's appearance, right? As Leela Manjari Mataji mentioned, that why the Lord comes here. But more than his coming here to establish religion and annihilate the miscreants, and at the same time also protect the devotees, there is a significant principle that Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita in the 4th chapter. Krishna mentions Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tvakta teham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. So this is a very, very, very important verse for all of us to meditate on, because this verse gives us the key of how we can go back to the spiritual world. Those of us who are eager, or at least the practice that we are doing, the sadhana bhakti that we are doing, in one sense it is to achieve perfection by eventually landing, our soul eventually entering the realm, the transcendental realm of the Lord's abode. So Krishna gives the key of how do we enter, right? Tvakta deham, right? Once we give up this body, punarjanma naiti, there is no rebirth for whom, right? One who understands the janma and karma, the birth or the appearance and the activities of the Lord, right? One who understands that it is this appearance and the activities of the Lord are divyam, right? Only that individual or that jiva can enter to the spiritual world. So everything that we do, the study of the Shastras, sadhana bhakti, the chanting of the holy name, is to somehow or the other realize this principle that Krishna is speaking in Bhagavad Gita, right? To understand that his activity is not ordinary. He may appear as an ordinary human being, right? He may appear, like here in this case, we see Lord Ramchandra appeared as a Manushya, right? But he's an avatar and he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The reason Krishna descends here in his variegated forms is to bring about this principle of divyatva, right? That he is not an ordinary person. His appearance is not like the way we take birth in this material world, right? So our study, our hearing, our chanting should bring about this realization in the core of our hearts, right? That's why we see the mantra that we chant, it's the same mantra every day. The pastimes that we hear, it's the same pastimes, right? You're not going to learn something new today about Lord Ramachandra, right? It's the same pastime we've been discussing every year during Lord Rama's appearance day, like on Rama Navami. It's not different, right? But the principle, or what we really get out of absorbing ourselves in repeating this mantra, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, or absorbing our mind and hearing about Krishna's glories, Lord Rama's glories, is to understand this principle that his appearance and his activities is not ordinary, right? And that has to be realized. And the realization happens when we repeatedly absorb with attention in understanding and diving deep into the glories of the Supreme Lord. So these days like this, Rama Navami, Janmashtami, Narsingha Chaturdashi, that's going to come soon, this gives us an opportunity to refocus our attention on this principle, the principle of Divyatva, that the Lord's appearance and his activities are divine, right? So it doesn't become just like an entertainment. Right now, most of us are virtually right now sitting at our homes. But if we were the temple, it would be a grand festival, right? Meeting each other, greeting each other, chanting, dancing, honoring prasadam together, So it the festivities, the festive mood is in there, but this principle should not be overlooked, right? This process is to somehow or the other understand this principle, right? So that's why some things, some pastimes are repeated again and again, so we understand that although it may seem externally it's like an ordinary activity. That's why it's interesting, because when the Lord comes here, although he is a manush, he comes in the human form, but at times he will transcend the rules or the laws of material nature, right? Just so that we can take him seriously, right? There is in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna's activities are described. Narad Muni describes Krishna's activities in Dwarka, how he would get up early in the morning, do his duties, chant mantras, basically, externally it may seem like he's just an ordinary person doing some religious activity, right? But at times, then the same Lord does something extraordinary, which makes us realize, or which immediately makes us think that, oh, yes, he may be performing ordinary activities, but he's God, he's Bhagavan, right? The same thing is true with Lord Ramachandra. He lived when he descended here like an ideal king, an ideal husband, ideal son, ideal brother, ideal friend, right? So every aspect of something being ideal is in Lord Ramachandra's character, right? So let us try to understand, or maybe for the next 40 minutes, absorb ourselves attentively hearing this narration, right? Because there is an added benediction when we attentively hear these pastimes. We get connected with the Lord, because the Lord is non-different than his holy name. Lord is non-different than his activities that he performs here, right? So in the Ramayana, in the beginning, so we all know Ramayana, the original author of Ramayana is Valmiki Muni, right? And we can see how Valmiki's life, he was a hunter or like a robber in the forest, right? When he came in contact with his spiritual master Narad Muni, he was elevated, right? From his very low class life, he was elevated and he became the great Valmiki Rishi, right? And it's very interesting. We know the story how he was preached, right? He was so fallen, so sinful, that he was not able to utter the name of Lord Ram, right? Because he was every day, he was getting pleasure in killing animals, right? So he was so much attached or attracted in some shape or form to do this activity. So when Narad Muni, as a preacher, when he came, he asked, he gave him a very graphic display about his future life if he continues to work in this way. And then Narad Muni advised him that he should he should chant the name of Ram. And it's interesting because he was so sinful that the name of Ram would not come from his mouth, right? Ram, we can say Ram, so in one sense, we are better qualified or better situated than that Valmiki who met Narad Muni, right? But Narad Muni did not give up. He was not a fanatic preacher, where, okay, you cannot chant the name of Ram, sorry, I can't help you, go somewhere else. But based on time, place, and circumstances, he adjusted. He just changed, he just reversed the mantra, right? The name of Ram, he reversed it because he was so attached to killing. He said, you can chant the name of the Lord of Death, Mara, right? And he told him, you cannot chant the name of Ram, chant Mara, right? And he said, I can do that because he's so attached to killing. So he chanted the name of Mara, the Lord of Death, for many years, and then Mara, 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 Mara became Ram, 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 and he got completely purified. And by the association of Sri Narad Muni, he became a great Valmiki Rishi. And in the beginning of Ramayana, Valmiki, the author is glorified here, right? And the glorification is very sweet because the glorification has some contrast in it. One verse glorifies him as Valmiki is compared to the cuckoo bird, right? Kujantam Rama Rameti Maduram Maduraksharam Aruya Kavita Shakam Vande Valmiki Kokilam. So Valmiki is compared to kokila bird, right? Because what is he doing? He is reciting the names of Ram. Kujantam Rama Rameti. Why? And what is so special about this name? It is Madhura Madhuraksharam. It is the most beautiful of all names, right? And so this is a comparison that this is Valmiki, who is a great poet, and he is composing the glories of Lord Ramachandra through Ramayana. And there is another verse right after that, which glorifies Valmiki, but in a different way. So here, in the verse that we recited, Valmiki is glorified as a cuckoo bird. Now in the next verse, Valmiki is glorified as the lion. Valmiki Muni Simmasya Kavita Vanacharina Shunvan Ramakadam Nadam Konayati Paramgatim. So here, Valmiki is compared to that Muni Simhasya. He is the lion, right? He's a lion. He says, who in this world will not attain salvation? Who happens to hear the story of Ram composed by the lion among poets, Valmiki, who always lived in the forest, right? So he's saying when the name of Ram is vibrated, right? And when the name of Ram is vibrated, it destroys all the anarthas from our heart, right? So you can see this one person has two facets, right? One who is a cuckoo bird singing, and the second, he's the roaring lion, right? So Ramayana continues. So we will start our discussion from one particular section of Ramayana where Bharat, Shatrugna, they had all come to Chitrakoot to basically take Rama back to the kingdom, and they have all left. And now Sita, Ram, Lakshman, they're staying at Chitrakoot, right? So, and around the Chitrakoot area, there were many sages, they were also living nearby. So one day, Lord Rama noticed that the sages were talking amongst themselves, and they were in a lot of anxiety. So Lord Rama noticed it, and he checked with Lakshmana, and they were conversing. He said, did I do something wrong? Why I see this sages are in so much anxiety? Did we make any mistake? Did we offend them? So Lord Rama approached the sages and he asked them, my dear sages, I see that you are all having some silent discussion, and I see you in a lot of anxiety. Did I commit any offense? Did I make any mistake? Did I transgress any etiquette that might be distressing you all? So the sages immediately responded, said, no, what fault can there be in you? Right? We are in anxiety because of the demons. We are in anxiety because of the demons. So Lord Rama immediately said, what can we do? How can we serve you? How can we relieve you of this anxiety? So Lord Rama, or the sages, immediately told them that there is this demons who are living in this Dandakarana region. You go, please proceed in that direction. And then Lord Rama immediately left. He left the Chitrakoot, seeking the blessings of the sages, and he entered the Dandakarana forest. As soon as he entered this forest, he was confronted by this one demon, one huge demon, right? Huge demon. He was like 10, 20 times as high as the Lord. And he just stood in front of Sri Ram, Lakshman, and Sita Devi. And so when I'm speaking this narration, just again make sure that you are attentive. I know you are at your homes, so there will be opportunity for you to be getting distracted. But if you really want to get full benefit of this narration, just please give your attention to this discussion. So when this demon confronted Lord Ram, this demon had this spear, just to give you an idea. So Ramayana describes that he had this long spear, and in that spear, he had like 10 deers, 4 lions, and 10 leopards. So you could imagine how long that spear was, and you can only imagine his height, right? So he immediately grabbed Sita Devi and he challenged Ram and Lakshman. First, he said that you are hypocrites. You are dressed as ascetics, but I see you're carrying a bow and arrow, right? And then as soon as Sita was grabbed by this demon, Ramayana explains that Lord Ram, he fell to the ground, started crying. This is very interesting because you see, we have an understanding of God, right? All powerful, almighty, that this whole principle about the power or the strength is exhibited about the Lord. But here you can see that Lord is a sentient being. Lord has a heart. Lord is a person. He is crying for his devotee here, right? And this aspect you can see, it's so beautifully described throughout Ramayana. When Sita was abducted by Ravana, Rama became so emotional, being in separation from Sita. So here, the same thing, right? And this Rakshasa, his name was Virada. So he told Rama that, I'm going to enjoy Sita, but I want to spare you because you are, humans, ascetics, you can go, right? But there was a battle that took place between, Virada and Lakshman and Lord Ram. So they cut off his hands. But as soon as he fell down to the ground, this demon, he came back up, right? And he told Rama that, you cannot kill me because I have a boon from Lord Brahma that I cannot be killed, right? So Lord Rama then jumps on him and he kicks him, As soon as his lotus feet touches the head of Virada, Virada starts offering beautiful prayers to Lord Rama. And he says that I've been waiting for this moment because I am the servant of Kubera, right? I made a mischief and an offense. Because of this offense, I was cursed by Kubera. My name is Tumburu. And in the curse, after I begged forgiveness, Kubera told me that don't worry, you will be in this demon form, but one day you will meet the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Sri Ram, and then he will deliver you, right? So then Lord Rama, he hears the story, he becomes pleased with him. They dig a pit, and that's where they put Virada. But before that, Lord Rama is asking, he asked Virada, please tell us, where should we go from here? Right? Now that, we have come here, we want to go into the forest, and can you please guide us where should we go? So Virada immediately told him that there is one devotee of yours nearby, right? His name is Sarbanga Rishi. He will guide you where to go. So you should go there. You should go and meet him, right? So Lord Ramchandra then is on his way to Sarbanga Rishi's ashram. Interestingly, when they are walking, they see something very interesting in the sky. What do they see? They see this one golden chariot. This golden chariot is been pulled by some 1,000 greenish horses. And then there is one effulgent being, who's surrounded by all these other great attractive looking personalities, and they were fanning him. And this person who was in the middle, Lakshman asked Lord Rama. So Rama said, this person is, king of the heaven, Indra. And they were all having there was a discussion going on. And Lord Rama, Lakshman, Sita, they were curious, okay, what discussion they are having. But anyway, so they came to the ashram of Sarbanga Rishi. And as soon as they came there, Sarbanga Rishi immediately recognized his Lord. He prostrated himself, started, just absorbing his mind, his heart in the beauty of Lord Rama. And a conversation began. The first question that Lord Rama asked Sarbanga Rishi was, while I was walking here, I saw this heavenly being up in the sky, and they were doing some discussion. I want to know, what was happening, what is going on. So Sarbanga Rishi said, just before you came here, the king of heaven, Indra, approached me. He said that, my dear Rishi, you have accumulated so much piety, and you are now qualified to come to the heaven. So I have come to take you to heaven. You can come with me immediately. You are a qualified person who can enter the heavenly realm. Now, Sarbanga Rishi said, I can't come right now because I am waiting here eagerly to someday meet my Lord Sri Rama. So I don't want to come right now. And only after I meet my Lord, then I may be. And then immediately after this, after Indra left, my Lord, you came here, right? But then he says something very, very important and interesting. He says, Sarbanga Rishi says to Rama, that, my dear Lord, but now that I have seen you, I have no desire, or I have no need to go to heavens, right? And Rama immediately smiled and he blessed him. He said, my dear devotee, your destination from here is going to be Vaikuntha. That's where you will go. Now, just when the Lord pronounced this benediction, Sarbanga Rishi asked for one benediction. And I think this is very interesting benediction that he asks. He says, he's telling Lord Ram that, my dear Lord Ram, please remove all the credits of my pious activities. I mean, this is a very interesting benediction to ask, right? And the reason he gives, because I don't want this pious credit, because I don't want to go to the heavenly realm, right? I don't want to go to the heavenly realm. Now that you're giving me this benediction to enter the Vaikuntha realm, I am so happy and pleased, and I am very grateful to you for that. So then, from there on, then Sarbanga Rishi instructs Lord Ram, or I say instructs in the sense he is guiding him. There is an ashram, another ashram nearby, Sutikshna Rishi. He lives there, and then from there you can go to Agastya Rishi's ashram. So Lord Rama has been guided. So this whole journey is there's a lot more details. When I was reading this section, there's a lot more interesting details that is there. I just tried to cherry pick few things so that I can keep this discussion moving. But coming to the main point of, as we began the talk, understanding how the Lord's appearance is divya. So then later on, while he's on his way to the ashram of Agastya, on the way, there's a beautiful story about how Lord Rama delivers Anusuya. And then when they come to the Agastya Rishi's ashram, right? So Agastya Rishi again blesses him with some gifts. One of the gifts that he gives him is the bow of Lord Vishnu, right? And then he gives him 2 quivers, inexhaustible quivers. He gives him a sword, and then he basically instructs him that he should settle it at Panchavati, right? That's the instruction that he gets from Agastya Rishi. Now, on the way towards Panchavati, they meet this great devotee, Jatayu, right? You might have heard this story of Jatayu, how Jatayu tried to save Mother Sita from being abducted by Ravana. So there's a beautiful conversation that takes place between Jatayu and Lord Ramchandra. Initially, they thought he was a demon, so they take out their bow and arrow, but only to find out they give their introduction that I'm the son of Dashrath, and here's my brother Lakshman. As soon as Jatayu hears the name of Dashrath, Jatayu becomes very happy, and he introduces himself that I'm the dear friend of your father Dashrath. And then they continue their journey, and Jatayu also follows them. Now Lakshman and Ram and Sita, they all settled at Panchavati. So one day a very special person comes to this ashram, and this, when I say special person, in the sense a demon who becomes like the cause for the whole drama to unfold later on, that we all know, Ravan coming and abducting Sita. So it's a very beautiful conversation, and then there's a lot of humor involved in that conversation as well. And this person was Surpanaka. She was Ravana's sister. So she was wandering by in the forest looking for some food. Her food were human beings, right? So she was looking, when suddenly she sees the step, the footprints of Lord Rama, and then she starts following it with the thought that, oh, there is a human being here. Maybe I can go and eat this human being. Now, as soon as she comes face to face to see Lord Ram, she was just so charmed by the beauty of Lord Ram, right? Completely captured by the beauty of Lord Ram, right? And she approached. So there's a conversation that takes place. She approaches Lord Ram, and the gist of their conversation is that I think she gets like Lord Rama says, I've taken a vow that I cannot marry. I'm my wife, but guess what? My brother, he has not taken any such vow. So why don't you go and approach him, and he will be able to satisfy you. So when she goes to Lakshman somehow sends her back to Lord Ram. So she's like ping-ponging between Lord Ram and Lakshman. But then she gets so frustrated, and in that frustration, she approaches to kill Mother Sita. At that time, Lord Ram instructs Lakshman. So Lakshman cuts off her nose, cuts off her ears, and then drives her away from that place. And with so much agony, so much pain, she comes and runs from that place and falls at the feet of Ravana, right? And this is where the seed or how the story unfolds from here, where somehow she she convinces Lord Ram, sorry, she convinces Ravana to take revenge. And then Ravana sends his brother, the whole army has been sent there. And then the whole army is defeated. They come back and they report back to Ravana, what had happened. So then in that whole description, Lord, the whole description, Ravana is been somehow presented that, you cannot destroy, you cannot kill this human, because it's interesting. Ravana recollects when he got the benediction from Lord Brahma that he cannot be killed by any being. He thought it was an insult to even ask Lord Brahma that I should not be killed by a human being. But after what he had heard from his commander-in-chief Akampana, what had happened with his brothers and how his army was destroyed by this, two human beings, Lord Ram and Lakshman, he became a little cautioned. And then he devised a plan to, eventually abduct Sita, and then we know the story around it. So now the important principle, these two episodes that we just heard, Lord Ram meeting the demon Virada, how he delivered him, then coming to Sarbanga Rishi's ashram, then from there to Agastya Rishi, and then the whole pastime continues. The theme here is that you can see how Lord, although he is all-knowing, right, he is giving opportunity to his devotees, right? He's giving an opportunity. Like when we serve the Lord doesn't need our service, right? It is we who are getting benefited by that service. So here we see in the case of Virada, he was delivered because Kubera said to him that you couldn't get cursed, but at the same time you will be delivered by the Supreme Lord Rama. In Krishna Leela also we see how Nala Kubera and Manigriva, when they were cursed by Narada to become trees, right? There was a benediction behind it. The benediction was that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, will personally deliver you, right? So in these pastimes, the theme is no doubt, there is, as I said, there are a lot of details. There's a lot of conversation that Valmiki has captured during this episode. But the most important theme for you and I, when we study or when we absorb ourselves in this pastime, is to understand that the Lord is creating, or is he dramatizing this whole episode just so that our minds there is something for our mind to think about, right? Now, just this morning, when I was reading this section from Ramayana, I was trying to experience it, right? What it really means to become absorbed in hearing the details of the Lord, right? I mean, sometimes we try to summarize things. The summary, it's good in one way, but the details, right? The conversation, the details, the back and forth between the Lord and his devotees, those details are something that stays with us for a longer time, right? Now, I'm not so well read with Ramayana, but I'm sure devotees who are, studying Ramayana for a long time, getting into the details of the dialogues, the conversation, and on top of that, there are commentaries around, different acharyas. They are giving their comments about why certain things happened and why did the Lord do things in a certain way. That creates better absorption for us, so that the idea is that when we study the Shastras, when we study this episode, when we study this narration, it is only till the time we have the absorption and the attention involved, to that degree we become purified, right? Because Lord Ramachandra's birth it's not something, the birth that you and I, when we come here, Lord Ramachandra's birth is very interesting. We know how Dashrath Maharaj was, he had 355 wives and he was not getting any kid from anybody. So he had one daughter, the name Shanta, who was married to Rishashinga. And by the instruction or by the advice or by the suggestion of his, his guru, Vashishta, they organized this huge fire sacrifice. And Rishashinga was the one who performed that fire sacrifice. And the power of that fire sacrifice was such that the Supreme Lord personally descended. Lord Narayan personally descended the sacrificial arena and took the offering. And from that sacrifice, we know there was this Mahaprasad, this payasam that appeared. And then that payasam was distributed amongst the three prominent queens of Dashrath Maharaj, Kaushalya, Kaikeyi, and Sumitra, right? And then from that payasam was like the source, or the source of Lord Rama, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughna's appearance into this world. So this is the other divyatva of the Lord, and how he appears. Like when Krishna appeared the same way, right? It was not like you and I, from the heart of Vasudev, he entered the womb of Mother Devaki. So the more we, study these narrations, understand it, take the time and effort. I was speaking on Sunday to a few devotees. I was mentioning how practice of devotional service, it's not as easy it seems, because most of us were advertised that just chant Hare Krishna and you'll be happy and you'll go back to Godhead. But as soon as you start practicing devotional service, all the unwanted dirty things that are sitting in the core of our heart, they start coming at the surface, right? So that is the whole process of churning within the Krishna consciousness. So when but at the same time, while we are taking the medicine, these pastimes, these beautiful pastimes of the Lord are acting as, it's a medicine, but it's a sweet medicine, right? And that's why we study, we hear this narration again and again, just so that we can remain absorbed. And at the end of the day, the process is simple, because we say the process is simple because this is all we have to do. There is nothing more for us to do, right? There is the chanting of the holy name. There is the study of the Shastras, Ramayana, Mahabharat, Srimad Bhagavatam, for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Chaitanya Charitamrita, right? So the purpose behind the scriptures is so we take some time off every day and spend some quiet time and remaining absorbed. Because at the end of the day, when we are about to leave this body, right, Krishna says, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam, right? What you are absorbed during your lifetime, that is what is going to come in the foreground of your consciousness at the time of death, right? So whether it is Lord Rama's pastime, Krishna's pastime, Lord Gauranga's pastimes, any of these pastimes, if we are somehow or the other engaged and absorbed in, that will set our destiny in the next life. So there is a lot to be said about Lord Ramachandra, but I thought I will try to briefly summarize this. The principle is that we study and hear them just so that we can remain absorbed and be happy when we recite or when we hear this beautiful narrations. So I will stop here, and I wanted to keep some time in the end for any specific question that we may have. I know it's a festival talk, but thought I'll keep some time if anybody has any question they want to post, or I see some devotees here in the Zoom. You can ask me those questions. Are there any questions, Mataji, that you're seeing on YouTube or anywhere?
Hare Krishna, devotees. So if you have any questions, please feel free to start your video, unmute yourself, and then you can ask any questions that you have. Thank you very much, Balram Prabhu.
Thank you. Looks like we don't have any questions. So again, I would like to thank everybody for participating in this virtual discussion on Lord Ramachandra. And we may continue like this for some more time, given the fact that we are still in this pandemic. Keep the social distancing, and as soon as we see an opportunity for all of us to meet at the temple and do this festival, like we used to do before, you will all be, we'll let you know. But for now, just the temple is open over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday for 2 hours. Please come and take darshan of their lordships, and just remember the Lord and participate in attentive hearing and chanting. Hare Krishna.
Very much, Balram Prabhu, for this talk and for inspiring us to stay on the path of Krishna consciousness. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhupada.
So much. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Paramakarna Prabhu.